Hello and welcome back yet again to the Bibbs Corner podcast. I am your host, as always, Mike Bibbins. Find me on Twitter at Bibbs Corner. If you read the title of this episode, you know that this is a draft pod. The NBA draft is tomorrow, so there's things to be said about that. The Mavs have two pretty solid picks, number 18 in the first round, number 31, first pick of the second round, basically a first round pick. That guy that's picked there is a guy that could have easily gone in the first round. So two pretty valuable picks. My man Dalton had a chance to speak with Donnie Nelson this morning, who made it clear that if they do keep the picks, they do have their eyes on a couple of guys that could go in those two ranges. Everything is at play for the Mavs. And, it's a beautiful thing, personally, as a Mavs fan, to know that no matter what, something good is going to happen. It's very hard for them to mess up the position that they're in right now, whether Hardaway opts in or out, especially if he doesn't do it before the draft. He obviously can't get traded until he opts in. If he opts out, he can't get traded because he'll be a free agent. But, draft night, people are going to be calling about that pick. We are going to be making calls about moving up, moving down, moving around. Things are flexible. And then we obviously can end up just keeping the picks. There's going to be good guys in those ranges. Some of the guys that I'm going to talk about today are going to be in those ranges, and we'll definitely get into that later. But either way, like I said, I'm excited. There's going to be some new talent coming into Dallas, and that's something to be excited about always. Now, as you may or may not know, depending on how closely you follow what I'm doing out here in these streets, I announced back in March that I was leaving the scouting game. It's something I've kind of been doing for a while now. I have like a booklet going back to like 2013, 2012, maybe even, of just draft notes about players. Something I enjoyed doing, something I got really, really into last year with Max and Richard doing the third round picks podcast. And, Richard's doing his own thing now, by the way. If you want some in-depth analysis, I think his big board has 150 players on it. Definitely go check Richard's podcast, at Mavs Draft Podcast, or just at Mavs Draft on Twitter. I think he has Mavs Draft Film or something like that, where he posts videos of different players if you want to go see some of the things that they do. And then, of course, he has the Mavs Draft Podcast with I think he does two players every episode. So, again, if you need that in-depth analysis on certain players, definitely hit that up. Now, before I announced that I was stepping out of the game back in March, I had already done a ton of scouting. A lot of the guys I scouted were guys that weren't necessarily going to come out in this draft. And so I went through all my notes, I went through my sheet, and I ended up with still having information, still having notes on 65 guys that are in this draft. I ended up with like 50 or so that are still in college or still overseas or pulled out of the draft late. There are, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about 5 guys that did remain in the draft that I like for one reason or another. I'm going to give you 8 other names as well of guys that I either like or think are intriguing prospects. And again, this is just in general. I'm not saying for the Mavs at all when I'm talking about these guys, but just guys that I'm curious to see where they go and how things end up for them. I also announced a long time ago that this offseason, I'm not putting any energy into trying to will a player to the Mavs. Obviously, if there's a guy I like, I'll say, that's a guy I would love to see in a Mavs uniform. But as far as investing my hopes and dreams on a player or two coming to Dallas, it is what it is. I can't make any of that stuff happen, so I can't invest the energy in it. I'm burned out on that one. But yeah, these players that I'm going to list tonight, a few of them would be pretty nice pickups for the Mavs, and I'll point that out when I get there. But these are just guys I like in general, and I'm going to enjoy watching wherever they go. Even if I feel like a lot of guys I like end up getting drafted to teams I hate, but it is what it is. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to take a quick break here, and then we'll get straight into that first guy on the list and keep it moving. Okay, so we're going to kick this off with a guy who is a veteran, a 4-year player, senior, out of Michigan State, Cassius Winston. Cassius is a 6'1" or so, about 185 point guard, 18.6 points a game, 5.9 assists, 1.2 steals. Did have 3.2 turnovers a game his senior year. You might recall at the beginning of the year, or you may not know at all, at the beginning of the season, he actually lost his brother tragically, which definitely had an effect on him early in the season. His stats were somewhat off for a little while. I think he still ended up having a pretty good year before COVID shut everything down. But I really like Cassius. He's not a guy that's sexy as a draft pick, so that's why you're not hearing a lot about him. He kind of reminds me of Jalen Brunson in the sense that he's just a winner and a gamer. When you watch him play, you're going to see that he can score. He's not one of those guys that filled it up a ton. Like I said, 18.6 points a game. He does have a nice runner off the bounce. He has a floater, a quick first step to get in the lane. He can shoot off the catch as well. I think he picks his spots well as a scorer because he's patient. He wants to distribute the ball. He wants to move the ball around. He's never in a rush with the ball, which I love about him. He's always keeping pressure on the defense with a live dribble. Just understands controlling the game as a point guard. As far as like his scoring, his scoring within the paint area or inside the arc, this year he was about 46% on twos, 48% for his career, so a little bit down this year. He did shoot 43% from three this year with the line moving back on 5.5 attempts per game. And his average for his career had actually been 43%. So I believe his numbers were down a little bit actually on the three for this past season. But again, the line moved back, so 43%, that's impressive. 85% from the line as well on 5 attempts a game. And again, he's not a big guy, so getting 5 attempts a game, that's also pretty considerable for him. He is a crafty ball handler. He pretty much can get wherever he wants on the floor. I love his penetration and kick game. Like I said, he can get into the lane pretty much at will and finds guys on the outside when he does. He also, I've seen him throw plenty of lobs. He throws them on the money. He finds his guys and sets them up. Like I said, he's the prototypical floor general when you think of it. Like I watch him come up the court. He'll see his guy. He'll move himself into a position that moves that guy's defender a certain way, and then hit him with the pass at the right time. Like he's that in control with the ball, and he's one of those guys that makes passes that you don't expect or see coming. Like he's seeing the game 2 steps ahead. I can't remember how many games I've seen where I'll be like, where is he going? And then all of a sudden he'll throw a pass to like the opposite place where my eyes were going based on how he was moving. He does see the whole floor, and like even when he's double teamed, he's comfortable and patient. He knows that he has control of that ball, and he's not going to lose it. Now, a small guard, you're probably worried about defense, and he is not a great defender. He does move his feet on D, but again, he is short. He's not super athletic. So you're going to be giving up a little bit there. He does have trouble containing quicker guards at times as well. So again, if you're bringing him in, you're keeping that in mind when you do so. But again, leadership, floor general. He is a clutch player that steps up. He's the type of guy any team can use on their roster. He kind of reminds me of like a Kyle Lowry, JJ Barea type that I like I said, I compared him to Jalen Brunson. He can be a serviceable backup and a guy that can start for you in spots for a long time in the league. Like I could see him having a 10-year run at easily in the NBA as that type of guy. And depending on where he ends up, maybe even longer than that. So definitely keep an eye on Cassius in the range that I'm expecting him to go late first-ish, maybe early second. Again, he's going to be falling into that Jalen Brunson spot where he's probably going to be backing up somebody on a probably a pretty decent team. Player number 2 on Bibbs' list is a big man who stayed in school for 2 years, a sophomore out of Maryland, Jalen Smith. 6'10", power forward, as I said. He averaged 15.5 points and 10.5 rebounds per game this year. He played alongside Bruno Fernando last year, and now this year he was the man in the middle and stepped up big time with his rebounding and scoring. Also averaged 2.4 blocks per game this season. I was really impressed with Jalen Smith last year. I was hoping that he did stay in school because I wanted him to kind of tighten up his game, and he definitely did that. He is, a big man, 6'10", power forward, athletic, muscular tone, good muscle tone, probably can fill out some more as well. He's willing to fire the ball from 3, shot 3 a game this year. 37% from 3, actually. Again, with the line move back, he shot 37% from 3. He shot 27% last year, so a 10% increase despite the fact that the line moved further back. He also improved his scoring on the inside, finishing 60% inside the arc as well, as opposed to 56% his freshman year. And then his free throw percentage also increased, 65% freshman year, 75% sophomore year, shooting 5 free throws a game. As I mentioned already, he is willing to fire the ball from 3. To me, his shot really only looks good when his feet are set, which shouldn't be a big deal. He did take some of those shots on the move, and that's not something that's gonna look good for him. He shoots it too strong whenever he's on the move. He does have good touch inside around the rim. One thing that I really, really like about him is that he is very comfortable putting the ball on the floor. I'm not going to say he handles the ball like a guard, but if he's shooting 37% from 3, he can get somebody to bite on a fake, and he's capable of putting it on the floor to attack the rim if that happens. He's a smart player. I think that's probably going to be the main intangible I'm going to say is he's a high IQ player, a heady guy that is going to be a coach's dream, in my opinion. He's very smart in the pick and roll, pick and pop situations. When he's inside, he does have a very patient back to the basket game. He tries to make a lot of strong moves on the inside, which does make me feel good about his upside as he continues to get stronger. They didn't always work out, again, because his body's not quite there. But, one of the things I noted about Gobert coming into the draft, he was incredibly skinny when he came in. But I noticed that he was attempting to do things that guys with big bodies are successful with. And as he put on weight, the more successful he became with those things that he was attempting. So that's something, again, I'm noting with Smith is that, again, as he fills out, gets that diet program, gets that weight on, which he's already started to do, those moves are going to be a lot more successful for him. And again, 60% inside means that he's doing pretty good at it anyway. He does have a face-up jumper and a jump hook that he's working on as well. So a potential 3-level scorer as a athletic stretch 4. So I don't want to say Jaren Jackson, but a Jaren Jackson light type situation. And it's really surprising. I don't see a lot of people talking about him, and it really surprises me how little talk he's getting out there. Rebounding, again, 10.5 rebounds a game. You don't do that by accident. In my opinion, he does that mostly with his length and athleticism. I would like to see him do a little bit more to work on the pursuing the ball out of his space and boxing out. Defensively is another place where I say I can't quite give him Jaren Jackson. He does a good job of helping, but sometimes is a little slow getting back to his man on the pick and roll. Again, high IQ guy, very coachable, so I do think it's something that he can improve on with some time and patience. And, otherwise on the perimeter, he is comfortable defending in space because he is athletic. He can move. He's very long. He challenges shots with his length. He has pretty strong rim protector instincts, which is, one of the big things I am concerned with. He will bait his man into blocks. He usually tries to give him a little bit of space to make them feel comfortable, like maybe I can get this shot off. But then again, athleticism, quickness, he can get to that ball. Again, 2.4 blocks a game. You don't do that by accident. He runs the floor very well. I think that's one of the things that people do actually talk about when they mention him, is his ability to run the floor. Very quick up the floor, very fluid movements. Again, my favorite things about him are his IQ, the fact that he's coachable, and I think despite his assist numbers not being great, I think he is a solid passer as far as his ability to see the floor. Decision making, like when to throw certain passes, probably can improve. But again, he's a big man. He's adjusting. He's learning. He's a guy I could see personally if I'm gonna get invested in what the Mavs do. He's a guy I could see flourishing with the Mavs as like a protege for Maxey to take over in like a couple years as Maxey gets over 30 or so. Just something to look at there. I'm very excited to see where he goes. I hope he ends up in a situation where he can learn and develop a little bit more. Again, adding some strength, working on his hands as well are the two things that I'm going to say are his areas that he'll need to improve on in those first couple of years. And I believe most mocks I'm seeing are having him mid-late first. So definitely that 18th pick, maybe 31 if he slips. I can see the Mavs going in that direction. Player number 3 on my list is another upperclassman, Gonzaga senior power forward Killian Tillie. Another 6'10 guy, about 220. Killian Tillie is a shooter, basically. He averaged 13.6 a game this year, just 5 boards, 2 assists, a steal, just 1 turnover. He's a guy, great touch on the inside. He can put the ball on the floor to get to the rim. I think he uses fakes pretty well and has great hands. His release is beautiful. He shot 40% from 3 this past year, 44% from 3 on his career. Again, you have to consider the line moving back, maybe bringing him down to 40. It was good to see him healthy this year. Injuries are the concern with him. Foot injuries, ankle injuries, he's been through a lot in his career. And usually right when he starts popping and people start paying attention to him is when he's gotten hurt, unfortunately. There's a wide range on where he could go in the draft. It's just going to depend on where guys value him and how much they trust, how much they're willing to risk his injury history. You look at a Bol where he probably slipped because of health concerns, and a team like Denver just snatched him up. I could see something like that happening with Tillie, where a team that is already established with veterans and has nothing to lose could take a shot at him. We will see how that goes for him. He is a power forward, but rebounding is not his thing. He does box out. Actually, he usually turns his head to find a man, which is very fundamental, boxing out, but he's not the one gripping those boards. Defensively, I've noticed he does play very smart. His defensive issues are more to do with his lack of athleticism. I don't know how I just pronounced that. Just please ignore. I watch him when he sees a guy cutting, he bumps them, which is, again, fundamental, what you're supposed to do. He does attempt to move his feet on the perimeter. He's just usually a step slow. On the interior, stronger guys are going to go through him. I've seen him hedge too hard on screens often and also slow to get back to his man. So with Tillie, you're looking at a guy who can score buckets, but don't expect him to be stepping up on the defensive end. There's a lot of those guys like that in the league. As long as his shot's falling, he can stick around. So again, one of those guys who can shoot the ball, but don't depend on him on the defensive end. He does try, again, on defense. He does look to contest guys who drive on him. He's just not great at it. He does move well, like fluidly. Like, he's not unathletic in that sense. He's just not that quick of a guy. He can push the ball up the floor as well. So he's not just a catch and shoot guy. He can put the ball on the floor, move it around, and work within the flow of the offense, which is one of the things I think is important these days in a shooter. You're not really going to have too many Duncan Robinsons around there who are mostly just going to catch and shoot, although Duncan was killing it for the Heat this year. He is able to put it on the floor and make other things happen. I think Duncan actually has done a better job with that as well. Again, with Tillie, the concerns are the injuries and his defensive woes. But whenever you can score the basketball, teams are going to give you a chance. So I definitely expect him to be a second round, at worst, pickup for somebody. And again, some people have him as high as the lottery on their boards, which is interesting. I like him, but some teams in the lottery usually can't take that risk. All right, moving forward. I mentioned at the top that I was only going to be listing 5 guys here, and I had a hard time choosing which guys to narrow it down to. I didn't want to hit on guys that everybody knows about. I wanted to touch on some of the more obscure type players, and I kind of went back and forth on these last 2 between them and some of the ones you'll hear in my last 8. But the 4th guy on my list is another upperclassman, Georgia junior Rayshawn Hammonds. Hammonds is a 6'8", 235 kind of combo forward. He only averaged 12.9 points a game and 7.4 rebounds per game, but he's on my list because every time I watched him, he just looked like a guy. Like, he looks the part, in my opinion. He has a solid-looking jumper, a good-looking face-up game. He shoots the ball without much of an arc off the catch, but again, it looks good either way. He has an NBA body. My issues with him are that despite his clear physical, his body, like, looking like an NBA body, he's very finesse. Like, I would love to see him be more aggressive, going to the rim and things like that. But he wants to shoot jump shots, and that's where I think he's blocking his blessing, if you will. I don't necessarily love him as a prospect because of that, but he intrigues me because if somebody can get in the lab with him and make him more aggressive in that way, then he could be a guy that comes out of nowhere as like a really great pickup. On the interior, he did do over 50% on the inside. 35% from 3 this year with the deeper line. He was 36% last year. He actually, his free throw percentage went down to 65. It was 80 previously. And he only shot 3 free throws a game, and that again comes back to his lack of physicality, his indecision, or his lack of will to drive to the lane, which frustrates me as a a guy who's trying to like scout this guy. He's 6'8", 235. That's a strong body, but again, he wants to shoot jump shots. I don't know what was going on with that Georgia team, and I'm thinking in the right scenario, you could make something else out of him. I think he also is even though he only averaged 7 rebounds a game, when he does rebound, I enjoy the way he pursues the ball. He crashes from the perimeter to get the ball. He rebounds strong with both hands. On defense, he moves pretty well. He has the length and size. He moves like a guard almost, and can push the ball up the floor. He kind of reminds me, I don't remember seeing Dorian Finney-Smith in college. Like, I'm a South Carolina fan. I watch SEC basketball. I don't remember seeing Dorian Finney-Smith in college. And the Mavs have turned him into something. I'm wondering if Rayshawn Hammonds could be a Dorian Finney-Smith type guy. Again, I'm not saying he's that defensive intensity type guy lockdown, but I think he has the body, the physical tools to be that type of player. And I even think he's stronger than Finney-Smith. So it's going to be interesting to see, for me, what happens with him. I don't think he'll get drafted. I think he's a guy that is likely to be an undrafted free agent that somebody picks up if they've seen the things that I've seen, and think he's worth a shot. He could be a two-way guy that somebody wants to maybe develop in the G League. Again, he's a guy that looks the part, but I'm not sure if he has it in him to take that next step and make those changes to his game that could make him a rotational NBA player. And those are the type of guys I like to find. Again, I like to find those diamonds in the rough. So that's player 4. I'm going to take another pause and then come in with my 5th guy, which I'm still debating to this very moment. Breaking news, this just into Bibbs Corner Sports. There have been trades, and I'm going to interject here in your draft podcast to make sure I update you on what has just occurred in the middle of my recording. All right, so I'm recording this. It's after midnight on the East Coast, and all hell just broke loose on the trade sphere. Giannis and Drew together. Like, that team is going to be a nightmare. Giannis, Middleton, and Drew, like, who's trying to see that lineup? That hands are going to be everywhere. Like, the fast breaks, the dunks. That's going to be a fun team to watch. When you look at them, I think somebody pointed out some of the matchups. Like, look at them versus the Celtics. Like, that 3. I think there's a good chance the Bucks can get Justin Holiday for depth. Unless he's looking for a bag. If he wants a ring and he wants to play with his brother, like, he can still do that. There's rumors that they're going after my boy Double Bogey, Bogdan Bogdanovic, in Sacramento as well. He adds another guy who can handle the ball, move the ball, and score. So I know I was initially concerned about them losing George Hill in the trade. Because obviously Drew is better than Bledsoe, but losing George Hill kind of takes that second guard off the bench who was a sniper from 3. But if they can get Double Bogey or Justin Holiday or both, then I think you replace Hill's shooting. Man, I'm excited for Giannis. I don't think this is a secret. I'm a huge Giannis fan. He's my favorite player. And I want him to succeed. I'm not selfish about guys. I personally want the Bucks to be able to keep Giannis. I think the league is better when teams like the Bucks or small market or medium market teams are able to retain talent. I think there's a strong possibility that the there's a strong possibility that the Bucks have already come to some sort of agreement behind the scenes with Giannis about an extension. I had been very curious and I want to say suspicious of the way Giannis has been acting this offseason, like the photos and the reflective captions and stuff like that. Like I was trying to read it, and this move makes me think that the Bucks and Giannis had a conversation where it was essentially, we want to improve the guard play for you. If we're able to do that, how are you going to feel? We want you here in Milwaukee. We're going to do whatever it takes to keep you here in Milwaukee. If we can improve the guard play, if we can improve the roster around you by making certain moves, would you like to stay here? And I'm sure Giannis was like, yes, I would love to stay here. I'm guessing they called Giannis, said, hey, we got a really good chance of getting Jrue Holiday. Giannis, who are we losing? Eric and George. For Jrue Holiday, oh yeah, sign that. Do that. I don't think Giannis cares about draft picks. There's no rookie that's coming in from a 25 through 30th pick that's going to change Giannis's life within a year or two. So I think if you have a chance to get a guy like Jrue Holiday, you take that chance. And if they even have an inkling of an idea as to what Giannis is thinking as far as this extension, there's additional rumors that it's pretty much a done deal that he's going to sign the extension. You can say what you want about Jrue potentially leaving, but he hasn't been on a contender his entire career. It's hard for me to imagine him leaving next year or in the offseason if he has a good run with the Bucks and they have fun this year, which they were already, I believe, one of the top defensive teams in the league. They're adding Jrue. Are you kidding me? So, again, that's something to watch. And the other move is the Blazers getting Robert Covington for Trevor Ariza, who, I mean, Ariza's not exactly what he used to be, and, they didn't even get to see him really down the stretch when it mattered. I believe the Blazers' biggest problem this year was not having, losing Mo Harkless and Aminu. They're 3-4 types that can guard on the perimeter and still cause people problems on the inside. By getting Covington, they replaced that plus some shooting. The Blazers get healthy. I think people still don't realize how banged up the Blazers were last year. Their team was so banged up, and they ended up playing some of their young guys big minutes, and they got valuable experience and looked great. And now you look at a team that's going to be Dame, CJ, Robert Covington. There's rumors Melo's going to stay. If not, you could maybe put Zach Collins at the 4. Big Nurk. We don't know what's going to happen with Whiteside. Rodney Hood, Gary Trent, Anthony Simons. That team is a problem. Adding Covington. So, I don't know, man. The West is still going to be a battlefield. Dame and Giannis are my two favorite players in the league. So seeing them get help, seeing their teams get better makes me happy. Luka's a kid still. We have time with Luka. Of course, I want to see us take that next step, get to the second round at least this year. And if we can make a move, I don't know what type of move we can make right now, but if we can make a move to, push to the conference finals or what have you, I'm gonna love that too. But I'm not stressing getting the ring ASAP with Luka as our guy. Of course I want to win, but Dame is he's up there. He's 30 or so. Might be over. I'm not even 100% sure, but Dame's window is closing. Luka's window is wide open. So I can feel okay pulling for Dame right now. Of course, head to head, I'm not gonna pull for the Blazers to beat us, but as far as regular season, watching them succeed is gonna make me happy against everybody except us. Man, I think that's enough of this. Let me check Twitter just to make sure I didn't miss something else. And let's see here. I'm recording this after I've recorded like 4 pieces of this pod, like 4 different players' info. All right, so it does not appear anything else is going to break. So let me finish this recording real quick before that changes. Okay, so getting back on track with where we were. The 5th guy I wanted to go over is Omer Yurtseven. And please don't call me out for that pronunciation. 7 foot, 275 pound center out of Georgetown. Big body, really strong base, good length as well. 15.5 points per game, 9.8 boards, and 1.5 blocks. Offensively, I think he's one of the most skilled guys that you're going to see in this draft as far as like shooting. He has very good touch on his shot. A nice turnaround, Jay, from a back to the basket position. He clears out space well inside as well to get the inside feed and sets up strong in the paint. 55% from 2 this year. I've seen him hit threes. I think that shot could definitely be part of his game long term. He was kind of told not to do it at Georgetown. He was only 21% from 3 this year, but again, on a rare number of attempts. A 75% free throw shooter. Again, his mid-range game, his inside game is where I think he flourishes right now. Somewhere between Enes Kanter and Vucevic, if you need a simple explanation for what he's going to look like. Rebounding, I think he does fight for and hold his position on the block on the rebounding. I think he's not easily moved off that block, and he high points his rebounds and is strong with the ball when he gets his hands on it. Always around that ball when it's coming off the rim as well. Defensively, he's not the quickest laterally, but he does work to keep up with guards and tries to keep himself in range to contest, which is pretty much what I want to see from a guy like him, is that he's willing to move his feet and he's not going to give up a layup in those situations. He's going to keep himself a little bit back to bait the guy into shooting over him, which is the best you can really hope for in those situations. He is very well aware, I should say, on help side defense as well, which again is something I like to see. I hate when I see a big not paying attention and like a guy cuts behind him and gets a layup with him there without getting a chance to contest. So he is aware of those type of things. He does have the rim protector instincts as well. Doesn't have a great vertical, but he does get off the ground quickly. It's just a matter of timing with him, and I do expect he'll be a guy you'll see get posterized from time to time because he's adjusting to that athleticism in the NBA. But again, it's gonna matter if he's on the court actually as well. He can run the floor pretty well in a straight line as well. I think that we're in an era where big men are not guys that you're going to see playing 30, 35 minutes as much anymore. That's a rare in this league now. I'm not saying I think he can be that type of guy, but I do think he's a guy that could be a rotational big for someone, a placeholder who can have a big game here and there for you off the bench or filling in for your injured starter or whatever the case may be. Long term, I don't know what his upside is. I do think he's the type of guy that a team can't just draft him if they don't plan or know how to use his abilities. He is a scoring big man, not a great defender, but decent enough. He does rebound. He's a guy I've liked since before Georgetown. He initially, I believe, started at NC State. I liked his offensive package back then. Not much has changed. And again, he's a guy you can't plug him on any team and expect it to work. Like I don't know, I wouldn't want him on the Mavs, for example, but if he goes to the right team, if he's utilized correctly, he could be an effective player for somebody for a long time. And again, with this list, I was not trying to hit on the guys that everyone knows about. I wanted to try to hit on people that are less talked about, rarer commodities, guys I saw being overlooked in the draft Twitter sphere, guys that aren't as sexy to talk about. But I am going to go through and list a few other guys as well. So the next five for me that I want to mention, who I believe are either underrated or just not being talked about that much: Isaiah Joe, out of Arkansas, a bucket, a shooter. His numbers were down this past season. I think he was having to do more, but just when you watch him play, when you watch his highlights, good size for a wing, great shooting stroke. Did more shooting off the bounce this year, which was good to see from him. Shot way too many attempts for my, like, if you want to get an accurate judgment of a guy, I think that there were a lot of times where he was forced to take more shots than he probably should have been. I think he shot like 10 threes a game. Let me see if I can pull up the differences between what he did this year and what he did last year. Let's see. So he is a sophomore coming out. 6'5" guard. He did attempt 8 attempts per game last season from three. Shot 41% from three. This year it was 10.5, down to 34%. With the line moving back as well. He did play more minutes this season. His free throw percentage went up from 75 to 89 with more attempts this year. I just think it's a matter for me with Isaiah Joe. If you're drafting him and expecting him to be your number 1 or 2 guy, then I think you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you're drafting him and you're slapping him off the bench or even in a starting rotation with a distributing guard like a Luka, for example, then he's a guy that's going to get you buckets in bunches. Like, I don't want to call him Seth Curry yet, but that's the type of, like, I try to give you examples that Mavs fans are going to understand and work with, but that's the type of guy you're looking at, a guy who can come in and potentially fill it up for you in spurts. At the very least, I think that's a worst case scenario for Joe. The next guy in this next five is Obi Toppin, who is a guy who's considered a lottery pick, but I've seen him now sliding late lottery for a lot of people. I really like him. I only got to see him a couple times. I do acknowledge that his package is currently limited. I know he's another one of these guys that had like a late growth spurt. So, I mean, I've seen him do like between the leg dunks in game. A lot of his game is dunking, but with his athleticism, his ability to put the biscuit in the basket, again, he's another guy that I don't think he can be your 1 or 2 in the NBA right now. But if he gets to play off of some guys, he could be a fun addition for certain teams. And I think the fact that he can't be that 1 or 2 is why he's probably slipped, but I did want to mention that I personally like him. Devin Dotson, point guard out of Kansas, another one of those small guards. I like his hands on D. I like that he's physical and willing to attack the rim despite being a smaller guy. Again, I don't know what his upside is. I don't know where I would take him personally, but I enjoy watching him play basketball. And Kansas has had a pretty good run on guards lately. You look at Devontae Graham right now in Charlotte, and I think you have to take a long look at Dotson if you're looking for guard depth. Speaking of, and I was going to avoid, again, talking about guys that have been hot on people's boards, but I was on Grant Riller early, so I feel good about him as well. Just another one of those small college guards. He's a 4-year player at the College of Charleston here in South Carolina, but just a bouncy guard, strong, a fiery guy, gamer, bucket getter at all three levels, tight handle on the ball. He can make some passes. Obviously, College of Charleston isn't actually amazing team, so I'm curious what he's going to look like with an NBA team around him. I've seen somebody apparently had him number 1 on their draft board. I don't know if they think he's another Dame Dollar in the making, but he's fun. I would not be surprised if he comes in the right situation and is a threat for one of those all rookie teams right away. If he's in a situation where he can get 20 minutes a game off the bench or whatever, I think he's going to be a fun guy. I could see Charlotte. I don't know their draft pick situation, but if they have like a late first, early second, or if they make some moves and trade back or whatever, I can see them taking him and having him as just another rotational guard that they can throw at you. Have fun. They like drafting local guys, so guys from the Carolinas, they like bringing those guys in. So I don't know. I would love to see him in a situation where he can get some minutes right away. And finally, the 5th guy in this next 5 is Paul Ibua. Now, I did not watch him at all this year, but I remember liking him last year. I think he's got a good body. He's athletic. He can handle the ball. He's actually let me see where they have his measurements. He's 6'8", so 6'8", 225, small forward type. Again, athletic, incredibly athletic, kind of raw, not a great shooter, but again, one of those guys that I think can be developed. Like, there's a lot to work with when you look at the Paul Ibua body and the way he plays. And then finally, I have 3 other guys I wanted to mention. They're big guys that'll probably go undrafted, but what I would imagine there'll be quick pickups in free agency as rotational bigs. Emmett Williams out of LSU, one of those undersized center types potentially. Energy, athleticism, activity. I like Emmett Williams' game. Xavier Tillman, similar, even bigger bodies, sort of. Just plays the game right. Rotational big man that you can throw in there, do the dirty work. And then Vernon Carey is a guy who, let me see here. I'll pull him up. I've seen a lot of, he was a top recruit coming out of high school, 6'10", 270. I think I saw recently that he may have lost a lot of weight, which is not a bad thing. But when you look at what he did this year at Duke, 18 points, 9 boards, 1.6 blocks. Again, he's kind of fallen victim to the death of the big man thing. But I do think he can be a rotational big. So, and a young guy like him, there's a lot to work with, a lot of upside. So, again, I could see him ending up in Charlotte with a late second round pick, depending on what they end up doing. I think you have there are very little to lose in picking up a guy who's 19 with that kind of talent, especially if he's already been working on his body and can be more mobile. I think you can take a risk late second or as an undrafted free agent on a Vernon Carey. And that's really all I wanted to say. I've been incredibly distracted in this last section by the trade activity, so I don't know how this last piece came out. I just want to check to make sure I didn't miss any more trades real quick. But the draft is in 2 days. These guys that I've named are guys that I'm curious to see where they end up, and I don't know, man. I'm it's this again my favorite time of year. It feels weird to not know 150, to not know every player in this draft, to not know every lottery pick for the first time in a while, and to that freedom that I feel, and it's pretty exciting actually. Whenever whoever the Mavs pick, whoever gets picked, I'm going to be looking at highlights just like a regular fan who's not invested in every single player in the draft. So I'm excited. Well, let me shut up. I feel like I'm rambling, which I tend to do. And I'm going to wrap this up. I will be back post draft to talk about all the trades, all the Mavs moves specifically, and then of course any major news that has come out. Definitely appears something else just happened, but I'm not gonna talk about that right now. I'll talk about that on the post draft pod Wednesday night, releasing probably midnight ish, early Thursday morning. So peace until next time.